Everyone. Tonight we turn our attention to the growing conversation surrounding President Bola Tinubu's recently released ambassadorial list. The nominations have sparked a wave of political reactions, institutional questions and public debate, raising questions in some quarters while joining support in others. This is President Tinubu's first major diplomatic appointment since he recalled all envoys from the country's 109 foreign missions 2 years ago. And these nominations, released in 2 batches and now totaling 35, have drawn sharp criticism from the PDP, ADC, and New Nigeria People's Party. The parties accused President Tinubu of using strategic diplomatic postings to reward political allies and controversial figures. But what exactly is driving this controversy, and what does this administration hope to achieve with this latest diplomatic shakeup? Joining me to provide clarity and insight is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Foreign Affairs and Protocol, Bola Tinubu. He'll be helping us understand the thinking behind these elections and addressing some of the public's key concerns. Good evening to you, Mr. Tinubu. Thank you very much for joining us on Politics Tonight.
Good evening.
Right. So before now, there's been talks about, the absence of appointed ambassadors for 2 years, which according to some stakeholders have affected Nigeria's diplomatic missions globally. But now we have a list, and some Nigerians, especially opposition party members, are raising critical concerns. The questions: to what extent did political considerations influence the timing of these nominations? And most importantly, there are claims that the list is dominated by political loyalists and relatives of influential figures rather than career diplomats. How do you respond to some of these allegations that this list prioritizes political patronage over merits?
Well, first of all, I believe the list has been released in batches. So there's definitely going to be career diplomats that will be announced as ambassadors. It's a given. I believe we should just be more patient about that. But regarding the list, it's important we know that we voted for a president and we gave him the prerogative, the decision to make who and how he makes his appointment. So this is just an extension of it. So whether he chooses them as a minister or head of a parastatal, or even in some cases security agencies, the head security agencies, the army, the navy, etc. The ambassadors are also an extension of that. Yes, some of these figures are a bit divisive. In many cases, their political leanings and their utterances, and even their history. But they're all been vetted. Each appointment is made with due cognizance of the peculiar context, background, and objective and strategic imperatives of the position in question. So it is therefore crucial to appreciate the decisions that are taken, that the appointments are in all alignment with the president's agenda and where he sees his administration, his government going, especially on foreign policy. So we don't know where and how this, nominees are going to be appointed, where they're going to be taken to. The president has this, it's again his prerogative to choose based on their character, based on their history, based on their competence, and they all have wide talents and skills and experience to bring into the fray. So it's something that it's again the prerogative of every government to choose who they want to as appointees, and an ambassador or in some cases a high commissioner is an extension of that.
Yes, you just stated a fact, and also to corroborate that, earlier you stated that the nominees are the best for this administration. But how should Nigerians interpret that statement? Some are asking, what specific qualities or criteria did Mr. President prioritize in selecting these nominees? And, does the best refer to competence? Are we talking about loyalty here? Are we talking about experience or alignment with the president's foreign policy vision?
We're talking about a combination of things. So we're talking about political loyalty. We're talking about national service historically. We're talking about expertise in a certain field, whether it's in banking, whether it's in as a political, whether it's even it's some expert in even in some of them have a security background, some of them have diplomatic background, and there's an ethnic and state balancing the president also has to take into consideration. So there's so much variety of reasons why why the president chooses his people, and why how he feels it can help the promotion of his government and his agenda. The president has focused a lot on his domestic agenda. We've seen reforms that have been rather painful. We've seen the great advantage and the I would say the benefits of the reforms. Inflation going down, oil prices going up. We've seen the naira being floated, and we've also seen the fact that the subsidy has been removed. There's more money for state governments and local governments, etc. So it's important that now the next phase, I believe, is the foreign policy. And there's, of course, a lot of international attention based on what's happening with our security challenges and what the American administration has said. But it's also, I believe, it's a time for the president to now push what he's achieved domestically into the foreign space, to have these individuals there to speak on his behalf, being leaders of Nigeria in that country, and ensure the communication and the agenda of the administration is fully fulfilled. It's important that all governments have ambassadors. The people talk about the delay in and having them brought into the fray, but you will notice a few months ago the president talked about the balancing act, the dilemma he has in ensuring that everybody's taken care of. The I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, to ensure that there's a fairness and equity in those appointments. So I think we should be patient and see the conclusion of it, especially with the involvement of the Korean ambassadors that hopefully should be announced.
All right, and you talked about ethnic balancing, but we'll come back to whether or not foreign federal character was indeed considered with this list that was just released. I mean, just as a statement of fact again, Nigeria traditionally appoints a mix of career diplomats and political nominees. But the question, or another question out there, is whether or how did Mr. President balance this in the current list, especially with some controversial names? For instance, names like you have Reno Mokre, who's widely known as a political commentator and social media personality, not a career diplomat. And some Nigerians are saying, what competence or background does he bring that qualifies him to be Nigeria's envoy abroad? As some see his nomination as a reward for speaking good about the president since he stopped being a critic. There are others who are concerned that politically motivated nominees may weaken Nigeria's diplomatic image. From your own end, I mean, you speak on behalf of the president. How does the presidency ensure competence and professionalism in such appointments?
I think you mentioned everything, which is a lot of it is political loyalty and also national service. I mean, we can't look at these nominees in today. We can look at them in their years of service, whether previous administration, whether in academia, whether in security, whether in the private sector, even some of them being diplomacy, the diplomats. So it's important that we look at their career in totality. But yes, political loyalty is big. Everybody will tell you anywhere around the world that for ambassadors and high commissioners, a lot of them are for political patronage. People that have been loyal to the party, loyal to the administration, they will be rewarded because of they are in line with what the aspiration and vision of the administration is. So it's natural to have people that are loyal to, that understand your vision, that understand where you're taking the country, understand what image and how Nigeria should be portrayed abroad in certain countries and certain multilateral organizations. So yes, loyalty is big. National service is big, as I said, and also ethnic balance. So, we Nigeria is we have the federal character where we need to balance all appointments, ensure that
If I
equity
may come in
is
there,
involved.
Mr. Oshodi, No, another argument is that this list violates Nigeria's federal character principle and is skewed in favor of certain zones. For instance, Kogi people are saying they got no representation or that was not enough. And many are also wondering if any constitutional compliance audit was ever conducted before that list was submitted. So there are other concerns, one of which is that there are reports suggesting that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs recommended a different list of career diplomats. I mean, I would like you to respond to allegations that those recommendations were ignored or altered.
I have no knowledge of what you mentioned about Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's news to me. I really can't comment on that. But I can with the first part you mentioned the fact that there's no enough national spread in the appointees, and as I said, we should be patient. There's still a rollout of more ambassador designates or nominees that are coming. There's still the career ambassadors, career diplomats that are also going to be brought out. And secondly, these nominees have to go through the Senate. They have to be vetted by security agencies, DSS and ICPC. So who says that all of them will be approved at the end of the day? And thirdly, some of these countries have to accept the Nigerian ambassador designate. So they could say, no, we don't want this individual to come to our country. Please choose another one. Things will be done quietly. Things will be done, in a very diplomatic fashion. So there's a certain process and vetting that still has to be done, and lists that are still not being published. So I believe the Nigerian citizens should be a bit patient. It's been 2 years now since we've had ambassadors. So another few moments, it's not going to hopefully kill us. But the most important aspect we should know that is that this process has started. It's a fair process. The people that nominated are people that see the vision and the general being of this administration and able to represent Nigeria in each of the countries they go to push the president's agenda, the renewed hope agenda, to ensure Nigeria's economy is structured and our political space is seen and respected abroad. It's important that we get that partnership with foreign parties, foreign organizations, and governments to ensure our security, our economy, and also our culture is promoted. We're big on Afrobeat, we're big on Nollywood, we're big on sports. These ambassadors can help promote that and bring tremendous amount of good feelings and good, good image to the country. Some of them are quite eloquent. Many of them are known internationally, and this is just in many ways enhance their
Right.
career and be beneficial to the general Nigerian country.
And also because more nominees or more names are coming, and that's why some Nigerians have said it's important for Mr. President to consider some of these concerns. And others, I've heard conversations like posting politically inexperienced ambassadors is more expensive because they rely heavily on staff. Then we begin to have this conversation about whether the presidency has done a cost-benefit analysis of this approach, and if this administration can justify this at a time of economic hardship.
I will tell you.
Kindly hold on,
I will
sir.
tell you, right? Yeah.
And there are those who believe career diplomats would provide better value for money. Also, some Nigerians have raised concerns about some nominees with pending corruption allegations or poor performance histories and previous public roles. I'm sure you've heard several names, but one prominent name is the nomination of former Abia Governor Okeze Ekpeazu, which has stirred strong reactions. Many citizens in the state are associating his administration with alleged mismanagement, delayed salaries, infrastructure decay, and unfulfilled promises. Why is someone like that, or with that baggage, considered fit to represent Nigeria diplomatically?
Well, I'll ask one question. Has he been convicted? Has he been found guilty by a court of law? Is he a criminal? He's not a criminal.
Mr. President needs these kinds of baggages.
Well, let me finish because he's not a criminal, and I think in some cases it's borderline libelous to start casting aspersions at him. No court of law has found him guilty of any of those allegations you hinted about. So he's innocent. So the key here is the vetting process. The Senate is going to vet all of them. The DSS will. So is the ICPC. And the foreign countries have the right to accept or decline this nominees. So it's important that we have as much as some of them may be controversial or divisive, but they're all patriotic. They're all patriotic and they're all suitable Nigerians to represent this country. They all have a spread and they're all loyal, and in many cases quite astute in their careers over the years. So we can't look at things in many cases in the past few years or few months. They've been around for a while and they've contributed tremendously to the Nigerian economy and the political scene. This regarding saying they're not experienced, well, political appointees are not experienced. Many of them are they're not career ambassadors. So they will go through a training process. They will learn the job. They have people in the charge of affairs, diplomats in those missions that will guide them. But it's not unique of Nigeria. We have this around the world. The British government, the Ghanaian government, South Africa, America. In fact, recently, the British government returned their ambassador to Washington, D.C. after the controversy with Jeffrey Epstein. So he wasn't a career ambassador. He was a politician and a member of the parliament. So there is political appointees that are made ambassadors, and it's nothing unique and something that we should embrace as part of the political sphere. Now, if you tell me that there's not going to be a career ambassador in the sphere, and I'll say, no, that's not right. That's not proper. But there will be career ambassadors. It's just, as I said, people should be patient and wait for the full
All right.
conclusion
At the same
of this
time, it's
process.
important to bring these conversations to bear, so people like you can address it and shed more light. But let's take a break at this moment, Mr. Oshodo. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Please stay with us. Everyone, discordant news drill President Bola Tinubu's ambassadorial list, and I've been speaking with Demola Oshodi, global affairs analyst, and also SSA to the President on Foreign Affairs and Protocol. Mr. Oshodi, thank you very much for staying with us on the program. So for the first time, 10 women have been included in Nigeria's ambassadorial list. I'm wondering, what does this milestone signal for Nigerian diplomacy? How does this compare with previous ambassadorial appointments in terms of gender representation? And to what extent does this reflect a genuine commitment to gender equality?
Well, it is progress. Nigeria, and I know the president has always been pushing for gender parity, equality in appointments, and moving towards that. I think we're still far from it, but we're making progress towards it. So for those 10 exemplary nominees that happen to be female should be celebrated. I wish there were more, but we're making progress, and that's what we should focus on, from where we're coming from and where we're going. The president has always been, again, a very liberal leader when it comes to ensuring that equity is there represented in his government. And as I said, the diverse aspect of his nominees from different parts of Nigeria, different religion, different gender, a different age. It's very important to note as one of the achievements and ideals of the president.
All right. I mean, as a global affairs analyst, how would you, assess Nigeria's current global image? And what role do ambassadors play in shaping this perception?
Ambassadors play a very pivotal role in ensuring that Nigeria is well ably represented in each of the country and even the region they're in. Ambassadors also in multilateral organizations like ECOWAS, African Union, European Union, United Nations, and many more, UNESCO, etc. Their role is very, very important in ensuring that we get a story out there, and we have services available for Nigerians in diaspora. Some of them may be in trouble, so an ambassador at high level can intervene and ensure things are done smoothly. He's kind of like a representative, a leader of Nigerians in a certain country or in a region. Some ambassadors are represent 2, 3 countries. So though in some cases, that's how it's done. But their role is quite important. It's ambassadorial role has been around since I think well over 200 years. When I think France and America was exchanging ambassadors in 1700s. But it's something that we need to ensure. I believe that we've put our house in order first before we start thinking about ambassadors. We need to ensure that we have our domestic agenda in place first, because they say, like things start at home. We need to ensure that we have our place at home well suited, capable, and ready and building before we start ensuring people outside or even Nigerians outside, see us and ensure that we're on the right page. So yes, Ambassador is finally, but the list is finally out, and it's time for Nigeria to actually take the next step in our foreign policy.
And in that regard, Mr. Oshodi, what do you consider, as the biggest misconceptions about Nigeria internationally that, ambassadors should actively address or that must be addressed?
Well, the big thing is to ensure that the president's agenda is promoted. He wants trade, he wants security, he wants in some cases we want facilities to ensure we can build on our infrastructure deficit, and we want to ensure that we are represented in climate change issues. The issue of climate change, we have Africa being taking the brunt of it. We are the ones that emit less. Meanwhile, the people in the West, the people in Europe, in Asia, and North America are causing this climate change, and it's affecting us more. We're having these issues of herder, farmer crisis. The herders are coming down to farmland for better grazing places. There will be clashes, there will be conflict. Nigeria needs to be on that table to be able to challenge the West and the people causing this climate disruption, and tell them that, look, you need to factor how it's actually affecting us, and you need to compensate us. You need to compensate us with facilities. You need to compensate us with solar. We need to compensate us with things that will mitigate the hardship and the effect it's having on our environment and the people. So it's very important that ambassadors promote that. In many cases, and as I would mention again, our cultural advantage. Nigeria is one of the biggest giants of culture in Africa. I'm actually in Dakar, Senegal right now, and all I can hear is Afrobeat. All I can see on television is Nollywood. When we talk about football here, in the event or the summit I came for, it's all about Nigerian athletes or Sime, Ademola Lukman, etc. So Nigeria is big outside, and ambassadors can help promote that to bring needed investment and even good feelings, soft power, away from just the what we generally people want to be. We want people to look at us in a very,
All
very
right, then.
you know positive fashion, and that's what ambassadors can help
Right.
enhance.
One striking takeaway from this list is that it's from across the divide. And some of the president's supporters see this as a genuine effort to promote national unity. And I think that's paramount. But thank you very much for joining us on the program. SSA to the President on Foreign Affairs and Protocol, Bola Tinubu. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.